Right, we're recording. Everything sounds good. We're all happy and comfortable.
Very comfortable, thank you.
Good. Right, should we start?
Let's crack on.
Let's do this.
Hello, and welcome to a brand new Festivus podcast, hosted by the wonderful Rachel Bardeel, founder of Bar Digital, who connect brands with kids and families. This is the Festivus Sandbox sessions, where we'll go behind the scenes to uncover what works and what doesn't in building sustainable global children's content that reaches big audiences. Whether you're transforming your business model or starting from scratch, each episode tackles the big question: what does it take to thrive in today's kids' landscape? Expect honest conversations, real stories, and practical insights on building fandoms and audiences at scale, franchise building, TV, YouTube, gaming, licensing, and beyond. This is the Festivus Sandbox sessions.
So, hello and welcome to the brand new Sandbox sessions. It's a Festivus podcast where we stop festering, stop worrying about the kids' media industry and the kids' content industry, and we start talking about what actually is going on. Just to introduce me, just very briefly, I am sat here because I've spent over 20 years working across kids' content platforms, IP, and I've pretty much stared change in the face every step of the way and tried, sometimes successfully, to make a good go of it. So I'm hoping to dig in with people, real people. We'll look at the hits, the near misses, the ideas, into how we scale content and scale IP and make a good go of this new world we are in. So there's no doom, well, only maybe a bit. No fluff, maybe a little tiny bit. Just honest conversations and practical takeaways. So we have some best minds lined up. The first one is one of the best that I know, Jon Mason.
Hello.
Hello, Jon. Just to introduce Jon Mason very briefly, and then I'm sure, will go into some more detail. Jon is a digital agency owner with over 25 years experience in the business. He started when he was 12, obviously. He makes great games and digital things for some of the biggest kids brands in the world. And he is an all-round great guy. And he's here because he's real and he's honest. And I know we're going to have a fantastic, real, raw conversation about the last couple of years. He's been having some fun with some things. His story is particularly interesting because he recently launched a new show onto Milkshake after a 12-year journey to get here, in the backdrop of the last 12 years that we all know and love. It's quite a story, so let's get stuck in. So, Jon, hello.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm really good, thank you. I'm really good. How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm honoured to be your inaugural guest. So that's nice.
Yeah, well, we have good chats and we have known each other for a gazillion years. I'm sure we'll go into a little bit of that later on, but yeah, it's really good to have you as my first guest. So, can you give me a bit of an intro into Jon Mason, the legend that is, and your career to date? But you've only got a couple of minutes.
Sure. I mean, crikey. I mean, I can sort of break it into like four words, really. Well, 4 statements. I mean, Royal Navy, Disney, agency owner, and show creator. So I mean, I left home when I was 17 and joined the Navy. I wanted to be an artist. Went to art college, wasn't good enough. Went off, joined the Navy for 8 years. Came back, went to university. Got involved in sort of student journalism and the internet, because that was happening back then in sort of at that time. Put the student newspaper online. Went down to London, landed a job at Disney, who were looking for content producers for this thing called the internet. They couldn't believe I'd already had 2 years experience, and this was in sort of 1999. So I ended up getting a job there as a creative producer for the internet group. Brilliant experience working at Disney, largest sort of marketing company on the planet. Really set me up. Did 5, 6 years there, and then I left and set up Jollywise as a studio, and to do the same stuff I've been doing at Disney, and then I worked with lots and lots of brands over the years. Everyone really: Nickelodeon, Disney, Universal, Warner Discovery, PBS, Sesame Street, you name it. We've worked with them. But I always had an itch that I wanted to scratch, and that was to have my own thing, because I spent the last 25, nearly 30 years working on everyone else's IP, and I quite liked the idea of having my own.
And here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are. So before we talk business, because there's quite a lot to go through, because that is a lot to unpeel, from working on ships to Disney to where we are now. And I've heard some stories along the way. So
I'm glad you said ships,
maybe not the
boats.
boats.
So,
yes, ship. Yeah, big ships. So what was the moment you realised that Stan Gran had gone from a really nice idea, which we all agreed it was, into, this is actually happening? What was that moment?
Oh my goodness. So, I mean, there are so many occasions over the last 12 years where I've thought, wow, this is actually happening. And I think it's to create your own IP is to basically strap yourself into an emotional roller coaster. And it really isn't for the faint-hearted, I would say. So, I mean, there was one moment where Jellyfish Pictures said that they wanted to co-produce, and I thought, oh my God, this is happening. And then I realised actually there's a lot of work to do. And then the next one was when Milkshake actually commissioned the show. But that was, we had another 3 years to try and find the money after that. So again, and then eventually having the money puzzle resolved, I think that was the moment. I was sitting on a beach in Cornwall with my family, ironically the same beach that I'd actually come up with the idea for Stan Gran in the first place, which was a bit weird and a bit sort of, I don't know, a bit of fate really. And Natalie Llewellyn called me and said, we are fully funded and greenlit, and I bought myself a double 99 with 2 flakes and some sprinkles. That's how I celebrated, really. There wasn't a pub anywhere near where we were, but yeah, that's when I realised, when we knew that we had all the money together, and actually we could move into production.
And how did that feel when you were getting your 99 in your gob? How did that feel?
I think a bit terrifying, because up until, on a journey of that length, you kind of just, you become quite fatalistic. So you just think it's never going to happen. These sort of things don't happen to people like me. I have massive imposter syndrome. I grew up on a council estate, in a really rough part of Leeds, and you just think, this is a nice journey. It's not going to actually, end up with me having a show, but it's, I bought the ticket and I'm on the bus and it's quite nice. And then, so yeah, terrified, like, oh my God, this is happening. But also like really, really excited about the journey and learning and understanding, and really, really getting to understand what it takes to make kids TV, because I've always been at the other end of the food chain, so someone who's made a show comes to me and says, what do I do with this now? How do I exploit it digitally? And yeah, now I know the full journey. I know their pain.
And that's what makes your story so compelling, because you've gone on the other way down the road.
I've gone to the dark side.
Gone to the dark side. Okay, so let's bust some myths here. There's a belief in kids' content that the idea is strong enough, and if it is, it'll eventually get commissioned. But based on your experience, what is misleading about that, and what actually makes progress happen?
It's a great question. I sort of thought about this quite a bit. I mean, I think the problem with that statement is there are lots of brilliant ideas. People have them all the time. You know, people have like 5 amazing ideas in the shower before they brush their teeth in the morning. I think when you're in the kids industry, if you go to somewhere like MIP Junior, and you pick up the catalogue, and it's about you know, the thickness of the yellow pages. Sorry if that's sort of dating me age wise. The yellow pages was a thing that we used to use before the internet, kids.
What are they?
But yeah, so you know, and that book is just full of amazing IP. You know, like, and it all looks amazing. It looks beautiful, all of that, and you sort of gulp and go, God, there's so many brilliant ideas. But what you sort of come to realize quite soon is that there's also quite a lot of crap out there. You know, and I didn't even know that there was, you know, that kids' content was sort of broken into genres, you know, like time traveling shows about vegetables, science shows, social emotional shows about teamwork, shows about space. You know, there's all these different genres. So I think it's about timing. Really, that's what I think it's about. It's about timing. So I remember being at Kids Screen about 10 years ago, sitting on a table with Jamila Metram, who was at the time was head of children's TV, ITV, with a bunch of people who all were clutching their pitch Bibles, you know, to their chests, and all looking like terrified, you know, and Jamila said, I'm not looking for any vegetable-based stories, which is a very strange sentence to come out of any human being's mouth. And you could see about 4 people around the table, like visibly sort of like shrink, like, oh no. But that was 10 years ago. And now like Sweet Potato is on, you know, on CBBC or CBeebies and doing brilliantly well. So it is about timing. And I think the other thing is really understanding what commissioners are looking for, and what they don't have on their channel already. So it's not, yes, having a brilliant idea is one thing, but you know, there's so many other variables. I think what makes progress happen is persistence and passion and showing up and turning up, because no is never no. It's just always, it's not right now. And I think we're in a world now where companies like Moonbug and others have kind of pioneered this sort of algorithmic data-driven approach. So they can tell you through data what content is going to do well, where the gaps are, and then they can come up with show ideas or find shows that plug those gaps. It doesn't mean that all of it's good. And I think that approach, for me, kills this idea of serendipity. Like, where does the next show like Peppa Pig or Bluey come from if we all sort of retreat behind data, you know, and we're all risk averse and we go, well, you know, what are the numbers like? You know, it's so I think there's room for original, brilliant new ideas. But yeah, it's persistence, timing. There's so many variables, Rachel. It's a very tricky question to answer. Have I rambled on a bit there? Probably
No,
have.
not at
Apologies.
all. You've made some really incredible points there, because if you were to just focus on the data, we'll go into like how platforms and platform thinkings has emerged and started to impact development ideas. But you really hit on something there that, you know, would you have created Stan and Gran if you were just following data-driven thinking? I think I know the answer to this, but
no, I don't think. I think all you can do as a creator is create what you know, what you understand, what the story that you want to tell. Now, if people don't like it, that's that's a different thing. I think there are levers and there are tweaks and there are dials you can turn on an idea to make it more, not palatable, but make it fit maybe better into a square hole that your show's currently round. There are, I think is it Dave Swampy Marsh? I went to a talk with him years and years and years ago at CMC, and he talked about having red line, and you have your show and then you have red lines, and there were some, so everything else is up for grabs. So, if you've got a granny in the show and actually they want to make it a granddad instead of a grandma, or you've got a boat but they want to make it a car, or I think all those sort of things are fine. It's like the red lines are really the DNA of your show. What makes your show work, what makes your show tick. So I think, don't be too precious. If you really want to get a show made, then, you have to have your red lines. You have to have your areas where you're not prepared to compromise. But then there are lots of places that you can, and you'd be daft if you didn't, if you want to get your show made.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the red line thinking.
Well, it's not mine, it's
yeah,
Dave Swampy Marsh. But yeah, it was something that really stuck with me when I heard him say it.
Yeah, it just protects the integrity of your idea. I think the core integrity, but with some wiggle room. That's a great piece of advice. Okay, so this is where we dig into the story of, there's a number of great people that have done it this way, but you came at this as a digital agency owner, deep in new platforms, platform thinking, gaming, turning IP into an ecosystem, and widening its appeal, driving fandom before that word was even a thing. But you came at this as a digital agency owner, not a traditional TV producer. So how did that background change the way you developed your IP? Was there any clash with that in the broadcast world?
It's another great question, Rachel, and I think you're probably hoping for me to say to come up with some real revelation around digital thinking, and I wish I could, because to be honest with you, for Stan Gran, what I almost kind of lived my professional life backwards to a degree, because Stan followed a very, very traditional broadcast route, the sort of broadcast route that people would be very familiar with 10, 12 years ago in the industry. It wasn't digital first. We didn't make it a micro drama. We didn't cut it up into 90 seconds and, leave a cliffhanger at the end of it, and all the stuff that people are talking about and getting sort of salivating about right now. It was very traditional. We had this show, we went out, found a broadcaster, got a commission, put the money puzzle together, and so it was a bit old school, really. But having said that, because I have spent so much time working on everyone else's IP digitally, some of the things that we used to come up against as an agency, and any other agencies that are listening to this will resonate with them, is that you go and talk to a show creator or a broadcaster, and they don't have any assets, or they've got hardly any, or they've gone, oh, we haven't got that, or we haven't got this. Oh, we didn't get that done. Our production company's in the wind now. Yeah, you're going to have to make that yourself. And, and you're sort of scratching your head, kind of going, why didn't anybody save any of this stuff at the time you were making the show? Because surely that would be useful. So I think all the way through the production of Stan Gran, and in fact, we actually had to reduce the number of shots we were going to produce for the show. So I think I don't think I'm giving away any kind of state secrets here, but I think the show was going to be, in and around 120, 130 shots an ep, and we had to whittle that down to a lot fewer to give us that buffer and that budget with the production company to be able to produce digital content that we needed for the show. Once the show's broadcast, what we're going to do. That might be, you know, toolkit animations, episodic stills that have all been layered so we can use them later. You know, lots and lots of stuff that we kind of just grabbed and saved and filed that we knew was going to end up feeding the kind of digital ecosystem of the show after it's been launched. I think the other thing to talk about with digital ecosystems just generally is obviously, you know, the elephant in the room is YouTube, and anyone that is now creating a show that's kind of going down that sort of traditional route where they've got a commission and all of those YouTube rights, and your rights, it's I wouldn't use the word clash. I would use the word negotiation. I think it's a negotiation that you have to have with your broadcast partner. I totally get it. I totally get that the broadcast partners want to ensure that the content doesn't end up on YouTube and sort of cannibalize their audience share and their own YouTube efforts. But there needs to be that kind of negotiation so that everybody benefits from what you can and can't do digitally with the show. And you know, it's a phrase that's been a bit overused right now, but you know, this all boats rise thing. I mean, it's overused because it's true. You know, there isn't much evidence to support a show being on YouTube and on a broadcast channel cannibalizes either. In fact, I think, you know, if you look at what Bluey's doing, I think it actually sort of benefits everyone. So it's an interesting time, and you know, with the BBC's recent announcement, you know, that they're now launching, I think it's 14 bespoke YouTube channels for BBC content. You know, I think that conversation, that debate's just going to get hotter and hotter, I think, really.
Yeah, I'm really, really glad you've mentioned that, because it's a really welcome kind of move. One that you've articulated brilliantly. You know, it is data driven. You know, we've got the evidence, and we've had it for a while, that all boats do rise. That the way that content is consumed now, it's like more is definitely more. And I'm really glad you've said that. Very smart of you. And you know, that conversation with content makers, with broadcasters, with commissioners, with people who want to make content across lots of different platforms. I think the other thing you've mentioned, which I believe strongly in, and I fully support, is really thinking about everything at the early stage, and what content you might need, what assets you want, how this will work across all the different places. Is that what you were thinking early on, or was that something that you
always? I mean, I've worked with so many brands over the years. You know, it's like for me, Stan Gran is a brand. That's how I've approached it. I've approached it as, okay, this is, you know, it's quite sobering to sort of realize that actually that Stan Gran being on Milkshake, and that is amazing, to sit there at 7:55 on the day of broadcast on 10th of November with me, my wife, one of my children, with my toast and my tea, and see it go out live on TV is just, it's like a feeling like no other. But it's quite sobering to realize that actually Stan on Milkshake is one of a myriad things that you need to be doing now on that brand flywheel. It isn't. It used to be that was bang in the middle of everything, and then, you know, and then you sort of built your flywheel around that. Now it's sort of, I wouldn't say it's in the middle. I'd say it's slightly off center, and then you have to start thinking about everything else. You know, it's a sort of balkanized content strategy, you know, and balkanized content strategies cost a lot of money, and like most creators, you know, you're scratching the budget together to get the thing greenlit, you know. So, you know, any sort of marketing pot that you might have, that's like, you're not thinking about marketing money, you're thinking about getting the show made. So once the show's made, if you haven't done what we did, which was bank lots of content in the middle of through production, you really are a bit behind the eight ball when the show goes live if you don't actually have any marketing budget, because you've got nothing. And everyone costs money. Video editors cost money. Agencies like us cost money. So it's I don't know where I'm going with that, but
no. Honestly, I think it's something I truly believe in. Like, make a few less. I don't know if this is controversial, but I know we've talked about it before. But make a few less episodes for telly and have some budget aside for all of that other stuff, because it's so important. But yeah, ideas like that I think need to start coming to the surface even more.
Sure. I mean, we didn't do that. We couldn't afford to do that. We were, it was there's a whole bunch of financial reasons why we couldn't do that. But yeah, it's a very smart idea if you're gonna, if your commissioner is happy with. I mean, even the idea of 52 episodes is a bit of an anathema these days. But it's, if you do get 26, 52 episodes, you have a word with the commissioner and say, hey, is it okay if we deliver you 50? And we'll take that money and we'll build something else. We'll make some other stuff that's going to help promote the show.
Yeah, why not? It's so important, but maybe slightly naive, and I'm sure we'll get comments about that. But yeah, I just think there's some really potentially naive, but some really important kind of ideas to start thinking about when you're developing. But yeah, really, really good points there. Right, okay. Next question. So, over the last 10 years, the kids' media landscape has changed radically. We're not going to go into the whys and wherefores. There's plenty of people doing that. So we can talk about kind of more on the angle of how has that backdrop affected your journey with Stan Gran and getting it off the ground?
Hugely. It's taken 12 years. I mean, it's had a massive impact, but it's also had some kind of unusual benefits. So we got a commission from Milkshake, right, just before COVID. Now, I mean, usually if you get a commission from a broadcaster, you've got the clock's ticking in terms of how much time they're going to allow you to, go and get the rest of the money. There's not that many people that rock up with have already got all the money. You have to go and find that money. You have to, go out and, turn over rocks, kiss frogs, all the stuff that you have to do to get the money together. But COVID happened, which meant we got given literally years, 3 years, something like that, to get the money together, which was a massive kind of lifeline for us. And I don't have many things to thank the Conservative government for, but Rishi Sunak sort of upping the animation tax relief was also, that actually got us over the line. Once because it that uplift actually was like, oh right, actually, we're fully funded. So that was that was interesting. I think I don't really know how else all that that backdrop has affected us. I mean, agency side, it's affected us as massively, because we work at the other end of that sort of sausage factory. So if the shows aren't being made, then no one's coming to us for content that they need to support the show. So it's been a very, very challenging 3 or 4 years. It's I mean, I'm actually thankful I've had Stan and Gran to focus on, really, because the agency's been tough. It's been a very tough sort of 2.5, 3 years. I think there's some green shoots. I think people have woken up. I think 2026, I think people have realised that they can't just rock backwards and forwards in the fetal position for another year. They've actually got to do something. So they can't sit on their hands. So we've seen a lot more briefs come out this year already. In January, it was a flurry of activity, which is really, really nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are slow. I've said green shoots last year and then shut myself up because last year was quite hard, but this year, yeah, I agree, feels a bit better. Okay, so if you could go back to the beginning of the idea you were developing 10 years ago, when the world was very different, we've already touched on. Just thinking about the development and creative processes, I know you've touched on it, but what would you do differently, knowing what you know now and how kids are consuming content? Would you have changed? What would you have changed?
I mean, the obvious answer there is YouTube. It's would we have created a complementary program set to go alongside Stan Gran? We sort of did. At the end of every Stan Gran episode, we have a sort of 50-second piece to camera from Stan, who sort of recaps the learns that he's made that day, what he spotted. We aren't hedgehogs fantastic, or did you know about woodpecker? So we've got, and we did that deliberately because, and again, it's coming back to this thinking digitally. We were like, well, we can't afford to make supplementary content with the budget we've got. The budget has to all go on screen. What can we do? Oh, I know. Let's add this element at the end of the show, which we can basically just pull out and stick on YouTube as a short, or strip them together as a compilation a bit later. But if the YouTube market was as mature as it is today 10 years ago, then yeah, I would have probably thought about what would have been the YouTube strategy. I mean, I don't think the YouTube market from a commissioning perspective is mature yet either. There's lots of people saying stick your stuff up on YouTube, but actually, where do people get the money to do that? It's like the old sort of model where you get commissioners give you money and you get backers and they give you money and they know they're going to get the show's going to get sold, distributed internationally. People are going to pay a fee. That fee is going to come back into the pot. Everyone's going to get their money back, recouped, all that. That's a model that, whilst a bit broken because people aren't buying it, it's a financial model that's quite clear and quite easy for people to kind of get their head around to invest or not invest. YouTube's very different, I think, especially if it's MFK, made for kids content, because the returns are piddling unless you've got an absolute monster YouTube channel. Banijay are doing brilliantly in that space. They have ZK Junior, ZK Kids and Families. They've been doing it for a long time. They really understand it. They really know it, and they buy up a lot of nostalgia content, legacy content, along with the original stuff, and they know how to kind of package it, put it together, get it up on the channel, and and they do brilliantly well, and I think they make pretty good returns from the content. So yeah, I mean, putting Stan Gran on YouTube 10 years ago, maybe, but I think it would have been a very different thing, very different show. I think one of the things that we are trying to do with the show is sort of buck that dopamine sort of loop, if you like. A lot of the families that have watched the show, the feedback has been that the episodes are very gentle in their pacing, and there's lots of sort of moments for kids to breathe and relax, and the stories are they're quite gentle stories. There's lots of action in them, but there's a pace to our show that is something we were really, really keen to want to introduce. So it's not all crash bang wallop, because kids get enough of that already. So, you know.
Would you have changed any of that thinking about YouTube? Or was that one of your red lines?
What made the show a bit more crash bang wallop?
Or just added a bit, I don't know, added a few different elements, like you were starting to suggest you'd put some things at the end, like the recap and things that you can take out, or some things that are, I don't know, just specifically YouTube, or is that a red line?
It's tricky because the DNA of the show is really, you know, it's a whodunit for kids. You know, it's an intergenerational show about a little boy and his grandma and that love and that affection that grandparents have for their children. It's got mystery in it. It's got critical thinking, deductive reasoning, the kind of whodunit element to it. There's a nature learn in every episode. So there's a lot going on in 11 minutes, right? Which was a challenge in the, writer's room, just to kind of get all of that packed into 11 minutes and make it trackable for a young audience. You know, having said that, you know, would it have been great to chuck in a couple of songs? Yeah, probably. You know, I mean, if I'm putting my YouTube hat on, you know, you know, let's have a song in every episode, which we can pull out and stick on YouTube. And because, you know, music does brilliantly on, but that's not our show. That's not our show. So, you know, could we get Grandad to do some little ditties on a ukulele later down the line? Yeah, maybe. But it's
love to see that.
But hindsight's an amazing thing. I think it's back to that earlier point I made about sort of data-driven algorithmic content. You can sort of pull up the analytics and you can see really quickly what type of content's working, and you can make more of that if you've got the money to make more of that. You know, which is the kind of catch-22 of all of it. You know, it's you couldn't make Stan Gran reactively the way that we've made it, because it's you know, it's a beautiful show and it's had, you know, thousands of hours poured into it, and it looks great, and you know, it's very difficult to replicate that quickly and sort of reactively for a YouTube audience.
Yeah, and I think just to pick up on just something you said a little bit earlier that I keep thinking about, funding, making money out of YouTube and YouTube content, on content generally that then will go onto YouTube. A lot of people are starting to, and have started and done some brilliant work in publishing onto YouTube. But I think a lot of people that I speak to, and I'm sure you speak to as well, you included, have got that kind of funding question. Like, how do we make money? Is there commissioning happening? Is there investment happening in YouTube content? I don't know if have you got any you know, thoughts about? Are you starting to see a little bit more of that happening?
I'm not. I'm not personally. I think, like I say, I think if you're selling a lot of IP or you've got a lot of shows, it's a bit like, I can sort of liken it to kind of, you know, app store or app marketing. You know, it's like if you were a kind of one bedroom developer and you've made a brilliant app and you stick it out on the app store, you might stand a pretty good chance of making a few quid, especially if you've got an interesting story and you can talk to Apple and they say, oh, you know, you might make a few quid, but there's only one of you, right? It's just you in your bedroom knocking this thing out. I think where the economies of scale and the revenue start to come in is when you have got, you know, 8, 9, 10 apps in the app store, and you can build your own kind of like app distribution sort of strategy. You know, each app can like feed one another. Story Toys as a business, they're brilliant at what they do. They make absolutely fantastic apps, but also they've got lots of them in the app store, so they're able to create their own kind of ecosystem. So I think with TV, it's quite similar. So if you've got, you know, if you're a distributor or you're a studio like, let's say, Blue Zoo, who've got lots and lots and lots of shows, and you know, and again, they're brilliant at what they do. It's a much easier proposition to be able to kind of feed that monster. And YouTube is a monster. It's like once you kind of, you know, rip the head off that monster, it's got to be fed. You've got to be feeding it, and you've got to be feeding it, twice a week minimum. Twice a week. 3 times a week. Because that's what the algorithm wants you to do, and keep your, keep you where you are, and cadence is king, and all those kind of buzzwords, and yeah.
Brilliant, really good thinking there. Okay, so let's just celebrate for a second that Stan Gran has launched recently on Milkshake. Congratulations! It's a great, huge success. From early signals are showing us. So, I know you've done a lot of work in building momentum around the show, alongside the brilliant work Milkshake have done, and your Banner and a lot of other partners. Can you just go into that a little bit? So we've talked a lot about development. We've now got a show. It's now launched. It's launched recently. So what have you done to sort of build that whole kind of world?
I think very early on, I don't want to sort of sound a little too sort of too hippie-ish here, but I talk a lot about passion and purpose when I talk about Stan, and the why we made the show, what I'm passionate about. So I'm really, really passionate about trying to get kids outside, and families outside. I mean, there's a report from 2016, and that's 10 years ago, that they said that children spend less time outside now than maximum security prisoners in America do, and that was before COVID. So I can't imagine that's got any better, right? When I grew up, you were on your, you get on your BMX, and you with some cheese sandwiches, and just cycle till it was dark, and then go home. That just isn't what. That isn't the lived experience of a lot of kids these days. So yeah, getting outside, celebrating that, and why sort of passion and purpose is important, and why I'm sort of talking about it in answer to your question is that that's the momentum building engine behind this show, and so when you go and talk to partners, and partners are really important, partners will buy your why and buy your purpose. Otherwise, you're just another show that's coming along going, hey, we've got some wildlife on our show. It's like, actually, this is what we're trying to do. This is what, this is what we really believe in. So I knew we were onto something when the RSPB agreed to partner with us. And they're the largest charity in the United Kingdom, if people didn't know that, but they are. And they don't partner with just anyone. And yeah, I mean, this is back in 2018, so this is 6 years before the show was even out. Me and Natalie drove to Sandy in Bedfordshire, which is a place that I used to send letters to as a 7-year-old, because I've been a member of the RSPB since I was a boy. So to go to Sandy in Bedfordshire was really exciting for me, because it was just an address that I used to send things to. So I went to Sandy in Bedfordshire, and I met with the people of the RSPB, and I told them about the show, and I kind of just said, look, we're doing your job for you here. We're trying to get young kids to fall in love with the great outdoors, which is part of your mission. Partner with us, support us. And they were like, yeah, cool, we will. So I think that's one thing that I think has helped build momentum, and I guess some credibility around the show. And again, this idea that it's a little slower paced, maybe a little bit more mindful. It's not crash bang wallop, and it fits in really nicely in that Milkshake sort of schedule. If you sort of sit and watch the sort of Milkshake schedule as it plays out, it's just a nice sort of, I don't know, it's like a warm hug of a show, is I think is what I think it is.
Oh, it really is. And yeah, it's quite emotional to hear you talk about you as a kid sending your stuff to RSPB and then managing to partner with them, which is incredible. And the thing that any kids content IP needs to do absolutely. And
Well,
I know you.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I can't. You know, it's a big ask to get anyone else to do that. I mean, I raised £2.50 at school when I was 8 for the RSPB. I made a magazine and sold it round school for 5p a copy, and I sent all the money to the RSPB as a kid. So I don't know. It's full circle, I think, for me.
Well, they owe you if you sent £2.50 in.
What's £2.50 with with inflation cost
Gosh.
cost of living?
Yeah.
Maybe they did. Maybe there's enough money to have funded my show.
Well, maybe. And social media. There's a quite a buoyant social media channel. You're about to launch onto YouTube, or you have recently launched onto YouTube.
We soft launched on YouTube. I mean, we have, again, sort of talking about sort of balkanized content strategies and things like that, and why partners are your friends and all of that. So yeah, we soft launched on YouTube. We're probably going to push the button in anger because the next batch of episodes come out on Milkshake on the 16th of Feb. So in sort of to coincide with half term, so we'll probably go big then. I mean, we're limited with what we can put on YouTube, but Milkshake are up on YouTube. Banner J are also pushing the show on YouTube. So there's this kind of like sort of halo effect that, you know, Stan Gran is kind of getting out there on that YouTube platform, and you know, we hope that, you know, a lot of that traffic kind of ends up back on the Stan Gran YouTube channel, as well as we've got a lot of original content that we're making for the show as well, not just, you know, your clips and your shorts and that kind of thing. But social's hard. Social media is difficult. It's yeah, I don't know. I don't know. The jury's out on social media for me. I mean, I'm not going to get into the whole iPhone ban conversation. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with the banning of the device necessarily. I'm massively into banning the design patterns and the behaviors that these social media platforms use deliberately. You know, everything. You know, I mean, they're all gambling tropes that have been embedded into these apps, and I look at, and I have the privilege of being able to look at both ends of that age spectrum. So I've got young kids who are grown up digitally native. I've also got my parents who are digitally native, and you know, so I can look at my kids and they're bent over scrolling endlessly, and I can look the other side of the living room and see my mum scrolling endlessly, and it's that, what's going on there, and it's that dopamine loop, that next hit, that next hit, that next hit. That's what I find problematic. And then if you layer on top of that the types of content that the platform is actually serving up to your kids and so my mum gets basically loads of reasons to spend money that she doesn't have. That's what she gets fed, and my kids get fed kind of, you know, quite a lot of horrible sort of misery about being a young teenager, and you know, and how hopeless and all of that, and it is horrible. So yeah, social media, yeah, it's tricky because it's sort of, I think it's eating its own face, and AI slop is only gonna, I think, speed that up. You're gonna get to a point where basically nothing you see on social media is you're gonna believe, you know, whether that's news or animation or whatever it is. You know, my kids say to me now, "Dad, is that AI?" And I'm like, "No, that's a photograph I took from the garden. You know, that's a picture of a bird I just took in the garden." And my daughter's going, "Is that AI?" That's kind of, you know, that's where we're going at the moment. And I think ultimately that will just, yeah, I think it will eat its own face.
I agree.
I hope.
However, at the moment, it's quite a necessary evil, is that the right word? A necessary platform to kind of, because with the kids, young kids, IP such as yours, you do want to get that fandom, and parents, carers, grandparents, obviously in this case, a really important part of that, and that's where they spend time. So that it's an important part of that kind of strategy, which I know you've embraced. But it's going to be an interesting space over the next few years.
Yeah, we talk more about utilitarian posts. I'm always talking to the team about utility, so it's like, what is going to turn up in a parent's feed that is useful for them, and how can Stan and Gran be part of that conversation, as opposed to just sort of following the kind of the mores and the expected things that the platforms want you to do. It's like, busy dads, busy mums, busy grandparents, like, what can they be doing at the weekend? Is there something that they can make? Is there something that we can learn? Is there a fact that, that utility, as opposed to just, here's loads of content. It's like,
actionable content that you can do together. That's a smart move. Okay, so I can't believe we're nearly out of time, but we are. How has that happened? That tends to happen when I talk to you, Jon. But yeah, one more meaty question for you. So the future of Jon Mason, digital guru, TV show exec, what does the next 12 months hold for you and the Stan and Gran empire? So what's next?
Yikes. Well, I'm not getting any younger, Rachel. That's
None of us are.
That's unfortunately, that's the rules of existence, isn't it? 12 months. So obviously we're still delivering the show. So we've got 52 episodes. We've only delivered 11, or 10 actually. Then we're delivering another up to 25, and then we'll be a rolling delivery of that. So that's going to keep going out. So that's going to keep Stan very much, in the public imagination over the next sort of 12 months, just on a broadcast side of things. But there's lots of, so obviously doubling down on our YouTube, so it's all things on the marketing flywheel that you would expect, someone like me that runs an agency to be thinking about. So direct-to-consumer store, so building that out, seeing how that works. Why would we do that? Because we want to, because we think, an entire podcast on how broken the licensing industry is right now, and how risk averse everyone is. So a lot of people, even Bluey's, going direct to consumer with their own stores. But what that does is that if you can do it quite well, what it does do is build a business case to prove to licensees that actually it's a risk worth taking. Because look, hey, we're making revenue from our direct to consumer. So direct to consumer, YouTube, Roblox, that's a big conversation. So we're working on Roblox content as a studio. Can't say who for, but we're doing one of our own things, and we're doing something for a broadcast channel. There's a Stan and Gran Roblox experience in the works. I'm still not sure about it. Really, I think Roblox is
what explain.
Well, again, it's LinkedIn. LinkedIn's algorithm feeds me a lot of this Roblox stuff. So there's two schools of thought for me with Roblox. There's one, it's like it is the next, great hope for everybody, and it costs money to be on that platform, and not everybody, especially the audience that's probably listening to this, no one's set up to do Roblox unless you're a digital studio and you've got game developers, which I have. So that's hard. Or you're going to go out to an agency and get it done, and they'll charge you an extortionate amount of money because it's new. And so that there's that, and then there's obviously the platform safety it's unignorable that there are issues with the platform. As yes, there are millions of kids on there all the time, but that there are, I mean, look at Bluey has put themselves on Minecraft. They haven't put themselves on Roblox. And and they're the biggest brand on the planet right now, right? So you got to ask yourself that question. Why? I mean, Bluey will probably contradict me, in a week's time we'll get another announcement and they're on Roblox now. But they've decided to go to Minecraft, which is a much more controllable, manageable environment. It's got much more of an educational element to it, that kind of thing. It's not the Wild West which Roblox is. So for kids IP owners, it's I don't know, does Roblox still represent a significant risk to you or not? So that's kind of I'm like every IP owner. Even though we can make Roblox, I'm not sure that the show that we've got and the demographic that our show's aimed at is right. Having said that, I'll probably contradict everything I've said, and we'll have a Roblox experience by the end of the year. But I am thinking about it. I'm not just going, yeah, let's do it. We built an MVP, but I'm just still not sure. And then we've got we've got apps that we want to build for Stan Gran. There's licensing and merchandising conversations, hopefully, that we're going to be having. The show's got to sell. So Banijay are out there sort of doing a brilliant job at selling the show. So there's a lot to happen over the next 12 months. And then obviously Jollywise as a business is still, very, very important to me. We're 20 years old this year. So, which is mad.
Congratulations.
So, yeah.
You survived 20 years.
Well, barely, but
you're doing quite a good job keeping it going. It's a good place. Well, thank you, Jon Mason. You've provided about 15 incredible nuggets of information and hints and tips for everybody, which is kind of what I want this podcast to be. A good old chat and some really actionable kind of thinking and ideas, and just some good reflection on the last 12 years of your journey, which is just really interesting to hear about. And congratulations. You do have an incredible digital agency. You've got some amazing brands that you're working with, and now you have Stan Gran to boot. You've done incredibly well, and well done.
Thanks. I'm not very good. I'm not very good at I'm not very good at knowing what to do with that. When people say that sort of stuff to me, I'm just like, okay, because I always just think that any moment someone's going to come and take it off me.
Yes.
I don't know why.
That's why I like to compliment you, because I can see you shriveling into your chair.
I don't like it. It. I kind of want it, but then I get it and I don't want it. I don't know. It's a really weird thing. It's like, please give me some praise. Oh no, I'm getting praise.
Push it away. Go away.
So I don't know. It's obviously, I'm a man of a certain age who's probably had a difficult relationship with his father, that kind of thing.
That's another podcast. Let's dig into the real Jon Mason.
Yeah. So tell me about your father.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I think we're done. I think this is it. And thank you so much for being my first guest. Hopefully, first of many.
You're very, very welcome.
This has been the Festivus Sandbox Sessions podcast with your host, Rachel Bardeel. Today's guest was Jon Mason of Jollywise, and a huge thanks to him for taking the time to join us. This podcast isn't possible without the help and support of the amazing Janet Balmforth at Liberi Consulting. Join us again soon for more Festivus Sandbox Sessions.